I should have known something was off. My name is Jake, and I've been married to Sarah for 3 years. Our relationship started like any other, full of excitement, love, and that insatiable urge to be together every minute of the day. We were the perfect couple, or at least, that's what I thought. Friends would constantly say how lucky I was to have her, and I believed it. But as our wedding day approached, I noticed a few subtle changes that should have sent alarm bells ringing. It started with the late nights at work. Sarah, always the diligent employee, began staying late for meetings, a phrase that soon became a red flag. I didn't want to be the jealous husband accusing her of things without proof. I tried to brush it off, telling myself that she was just busy planning our future together. After all, we were set to get married in a matter of weeks, and I was excited. Little did I know, those late nights weren't just about work. I kept myself busy too, diving into wedding plans and trying to make everything perfect. I was at a point where stress was my constant companion. I guess I was so focused on making our wedding day magical that I overlooked the signs. A flirty text here, a sudden change in her plans there. But it all came crashing down one evening when I accidentally stumbled upon her phone. I had just come home from a long day at work and was looking for my phone charger. That's when I noticed Sarah's phone was buzzing incessantly on the kitchen counter. Curiosity got the better of me, and I picked it up. I don't know what I was expecting. Maybe I thought I'd find a sweet message from me written at the top of her notifications. Instead, there it was, a conversation with a guy named Mark, someone I had never heard of before. The messages were flirty, full of inside jokes and laughter. My heart sank as I scrolled through them, and each new message felt like a punch to the gut. They were planning secret meetups, and the messages were undeniably intimate. I felt my face flush, anger radiating through my body. I dropped the phone back onto the counter and paced around the room. How could she do this to me, to us, the wedding we had? Planned was supposed to be the next big step in our lives together, and now it felt like a cruel joke. I decided I couldn't confront her right away. I needed to collect my thoughts and figure out what I wanted to say. The betrayal felt monumental, and I was struggling to process the emotions flooding in. I went to bed that night, but sleep was nowhere near me. My mind was racing, caught in a whirlwind of anger, disappointment, and disbelief. I had trusted her completely, and now I was left with nothing but doubt. The next day I confronted Sarah. It was supposed to be a casual dinner, a chance for us to unwind before the wedding. But when I looked at her, all I could see was the betrayal etched across her face. I had rehearsed what I wanted to say over and over, but the moment the words left my mouth, everything fell apart. "Who the hell is Mark?" I asked, barely able to keep my voice steady. Her face morphed from confusion to shock, and then the lies started pouring out. She insisted it was just a flirtation, nothing serious. "Jake, you know how it's not like that," she said, her voice tinged with desperation. She tried to downplay it, saying I was overreacting, that it didn't mean anything. I snapped. "You had plans with him, Sarah. You think that's just a fling?" I was seething, and each word felt like nails on a chalkboard. It was as if I was watching a movie unfold in front of me, a scene I never wanted to be a part of. As she continued to make excuse after excuse, I realized I had two choices. Either I could buy into her lies, or I could face the harsh reality that the woman I loved might not be who I thought she was. I chose the latter, and the more she spoke, the more convinced I became that I needed to reevaluate everything. In that moment it hit me. This wasn't just about the affair. This was about trust, about the life we had built together, and how fragile it had become. I had invested so much into our relationship, and now it felt like a house of cards, ready to tumble down. This was the beginning of my emotional roller coaster, one that would lead to unexpected decisions and realizations about love and betrayal. The confrontation left me feeling hollow. Sarah's excuses, her rehearsed apologies, felt like a feeble attempt to dismiss what was happening. I couldn't wrap my head around how someone could be so reckless, so self-centered just weeks before our wedding. For me, it was about commitment, trust, and the promise of a future together. But for her, it seemed like it was all just a game. After the fight, I went out for a drive. I needed air, space, and time to think. The city lights blurred past me as I navigated the streets, but my mind was fixed on one thought. I had to do something. I was furious, and while I knew that confronting Sarah had been necessary, I felt a growing sense of urgency to take control of the situation. I needed to show her that I wouldn't let her betrayal go unpunished. That night, I started drafting a plan, and it was more complex than I had ever imagined. I was done being the easygoing husband who was willing to overlook his wife's flaws. I wanted her to feel the consequences of her actions, and I figured the best way to do that was to turn the tables on her. I thought about how I could hurt her the way she hurt me, but I also wanted to be smart about it. I reached out to a friend of mine, Tom, who had been through a similar situation. He had gotten cheated on a few years back, and I figured he could offer some valuable insight. We met at a local bar, and as I sat across from him, I recounted the events of the past few days. His expression was one of empathy, but there was something in his eyes that hinted he was waiting for the punchline. "Man, you need to take control back," he said, leaning in closer. "Don't just confront her, show her you're serious. Make her realize what she's put on the line." I listened intently as he shared his own revenge story. He hadn't done anything too drastic, but he had made sure that his ex knew he was moving on. That's when it clicked for me. I needed to show Sarah that I was no longer the man who would take her back without a fight. I would cancel the wedding and disappear for a while, giving her a taste of what life without me could be like. The next morning, I followed through with my plan. I canceled our wedding venue, the catering, and the flowers. Each cancellation felt like a small victory. I took pleasure in picturing Sarah's reaction as she realized her dream wedding was slipping away. I didn't tell her anything, not yet. I wanted to see how she would react when everything she had been looking forward to vanished. After a day of canceling the wedding arrangements, I took a few days off work and booked a last-minute trip to the mountains. I needed a break, a chance to clear my head and figure out what to do next. I packed my bags, leaving behind a note for Sarah that simply read, "I need some time. I'll be back." I didn't want to give her any details. I wanted her to stew in her own thoughts with the uncertainty of whether I would return hanging over her. As I drove away from the city, leaving behind the life we'd built together, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. The mountains were a stark contrast to the chaos of my life. The air was fresh, and the trees stood tall, completely unaware of the turmoil I was experiencing. I spent hours hiking, allowing the beauty of nature to seep in and wash away the pain. I needed to find clarity amidst the chaos. It was during one of my hikes that I fully embraced the reality of what was happening. I realized this wasn't just about revenge. It was about reclaiming my life and my dignity. I had been so focused on making Sarah happy that I had forgotten about my own happiness. I had lost myself in the process, and now, here I was, taking back control. But the deeper I delved into my emotions, the more I realized that revenge wasn't the answer to everything. I didn't want to hurt her for the sake of hurting her. I wanted her to understand the gravity of her actions and what she had thrown away. I wanted her to miss me, to realize what life without our relationship could mean. As I drove back home, I felt a mix of determination and uncertainty. I knew I had to confront Sarah again. But this time it would be different. I would lay everything on the table, my hurt, my anger, but also my realization of what I truly deserved. I was ready to face whatever came next, whether it meant rebuilding our relationship or walking away for good. The next chapter of my life was waiting, and I was ready to embrace it, no matter how painful it might be. When I returned from the mountains, I felt different. The clarity I had gained out there was refreshing. It wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about self-respect and the realization that I deserved more than what Sarah had offered. I still had a lingering desire to confront her, to express how deeply her betrayal had cut, but I was determined to approach it with a new mindset. I walked into our apartment, the silence echoing through the empty rooms. Sarah hadn't been home since I left, an unexpected twist, and I couldn't help but wonder if she was with Mark. The thought made my stomach churn, but I pushed it aside. I was done letting her actions dictate my emotions. I was ready to reclaim my narrative. It was late in the afternoon when she finally arrived. I noticed her hesitation as she opened the door, her eyes scanning the room before landing on me. The moment felt charged with unspoken words. "Jake," she said, her tone betraying her nervousness. "I didn't know where you went." "I needed time to think," I replied, keeping my tone steady. "But we need to talk." Her initial reaction was defensive. "I know you're mad, but it was just a mistake. You need to understand." "No, Sarah, this isn't just about a mistake." I cut her off, my voice firm. "You've been lying to me, and you've been planning our wedding while flirting with another man. How do you think that makes me feel?" Her expression shifted from defensive to something resembling remorse, but only for a moment. "I didn't mean for it to get out of hand. You know how stressful planning this wedding has been. I felt overwhelmed, and he was there for me." "Were you looking for support or something else?" I pressed, my heart racing. I could feel the anger bubbling beneath the surface, but I forced myself to stay composed. "I canceled everything, Sarah. The venue, the flowers, the catering, it's all gone." Her eyes widened in disbelief, and for a second I relished the shock that crossed her face. "What do you mean everything is gone? You can't just do that." "I can, and I did. You need to understand the gravity of what you've done. I won't stand by and pretend everything is fine while you're out there with someone else." "Jake, please, you're overreacting." Her voice trembled, and I could see the panic rising in her. "You can't just throw everything away because of a mistake." "Is that what you think this is, a mistake?" I asked, my voice rising. "This is betrayal. This is a fundamental breakdown of trust. Do you even realize how serious this is?" She began to cry, the tears streaming down her face like a river of regret. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean for it to happen. I just felt so lost. You were so caught up in the wedding plans, and I felt neglected." "It's always about you, isn't it?" "You felt neglected, so you decided to find comfort in another man." I countered, my heart aching at the realization of how selfish this situation had become. "You're not the victim here, Sarah." I watched as she squirmed, her pleas for forgiveness morphing into justifications. She tried to explain how she felt overwhelmed, how the pressure of the wedding had gotten to her. But I was done listening to her excuses. I had spent too long justifying her behavior, making excuses for her. I needed to focus on myself. "Look, I can't just forget this," I said, my voice softer but still firm. "You've crossed a line that I don't know if I can come back from. I really thought we had something special, but now I'm questioning everything. Please just give me a chance to make it right," she pleaded, desperation etched on her face. "I love you, Jake. I never meant to hurt you." "I need time to think," I repeated, more for my own benefit than hers. "Time to figure out what I really want. I don't know if I can look at you the same way again." With that, I turned and walked away. I needed space to breathe, to process. I headed to the bedroom, shutting the door behind me as I struggled to contain my emotions. I could hear her sobbing in the living room, and part of me felt a flicker of sympathy. But the betrayal was too fresh, too raw. As I sat on the bed, I felt a wave of sadness wash over me. This wasn't how I envisioned my life. It wasn't how I wanted our story to go. But perhaps it was a necessary step in my journey. I had to let the reality set in that sometimes love wasn't enough. Sometimes it required mutual respect, trust, and honesty, things I wasn't sure I could get back. Days passed with an uneasy silence hanging over our apartment. Sarah tried to talk to me, but I kept my distance, needing to sort through my feelings without her influence. I spent my nights lying awake, contemplating our future. I was determined to find clarity, to understand what I truly wanted moving forward. In the end, I realized that no matter the outcome, I had taken a stand for myself. I wasn't going to be a doormat, waiting for her to apologize and hope for things to get better. I would either walk away from this or find a way to rebuild, if she was willing to be honest and face the mess she created. I needed to protect myself and my heart, and that meant making a choice that would lead me to the path of healing, whichever direction that might take me. As the days turned into weeks, I found myself caught in a limbo. The silence in our apartment was deafening, a constant reminder of the fracture in our relationship. While Sarah busied herself with attempts at reconciling, I found solace in my own thoughts. I needed to take stock of everything, what I wanted from life and from love, and whether I could still see a future with Sarah. I didn't want to keep her in the dark indefinitely, but I also wasn't ready to forgive. It felt like I was on a tightrope, balancing between the desire to mend things and the need to protect myself. I couldn't ignore the nagging doubts that crept into my mind. Was I just going to be a placeholder until she found a way to cheat again? How could I trust her after everything that had happened? One evening, I decided to sit down with her. We needed to communicate, and I recognized that avoiding the difficult conversations would only prolong the agony. As I walked into the living room, Sarah was curled up on the couch. Her eyes were red from the countless tears she had shed, and guilt washed over me at the sight of her. I didn't want to hurt her, but I also knew that she needed to face the consequences of her actions. "Sarah, we need to talk," I said, my voice steady but gentle. I wanted to tread carefully but with purpose. She looked up, her expression shifting from despair to a flicker of hope. "Okay, I'm ready to hear whatever you have to say," she replied, her voice crackling. I took a deep breath, trying to find the right words. "I've been thinking a lot about us, about what happened and what it means for our future. I know I messed up. I want to fix this. I really do," she said, her voice trembling. "I'll do whatever it takes." "Fixing this isn't just about saying you're sorry," I replied, my heart heavy. "It means addressing the reasons behind your actions. You felt neglected, and that's something we both need to take responsibility for. But it also means I need to be able to trust you again. And right now, I'm not sure I can. I promise I'll change," she pleaded, her eyes pleading for understanding. "I didn't mean for any of this to happen. I've realized how toxic it was to chase that thrill with Mark when I could have turned to you. I just got lost in the chaos." "Lost?" "Sarah, that's not an excuse," I shot back, trying to keep my emotions in check. "You made a conscious choice to betray me, and while I understand that planning a wedding can be stressful, it doesn't justify your actions." I know," she repeated, her voice growing increasingly desperate. "I want to prove to you that I can be the wife you deserve. Please let me show you." "Proving it takes time," I said, crossing my arms. "I need to see genuine change from you. It's not just about saying all the right things. It's about showing me that you can be honest and trustworthy. Right now, I feel like I am just one more thing on your list of things to fix." Her face fell, the weight of my words bearing down on her. "I understand. I'll do everything it takes to earn your trust back. I just need you to give me a chance." That's when I noticed a shift in my perspective. Maybe it was time to rebuild, to see if we both could learn from this experience. But it wouldn't be easy, and I knew I had to lay down some ground rules. "Okay, here's what we're going to do," I said, my voice firm. "We'll go to couples therapy. I think we need a neutral third party to help us navigate this. And I need time away for myself, too. I don't want to rush back into anything. I need to find out if I can forgive you, and I need you to respect that space." Her eyes brightened, relief washing over her. "Thank you, Jake. I'll do anything you want. I just want to make this right." "I hope that's true," I said, unable to hide the doubt in my voice. "But it's going to take effort from both of us. You'll need to be transparent with me, and I need to work on my own feelings of anger and betrayal." We spent the next few weeks in a delicate dance of honesty and vulnerability, attending therapy sessions and beginning to address the underlying issues in our relationship. It was painful at times, dredging up feelings that I had buried in anger, but it also opened the door to conversations we had long avoided. We discussed our fears, our hopes, and the things we wanted from each other moving forward. Sarah shared how overwhelmed she had felt with planning the wedding, and I opened up about my frustrations with feeling neglected and unappreciated. It wasn't easy, and there were moments when tempers flared, but slowly we began to rebuild. It felt like we were laying the groundwork for something new. But as the therapy sessions continued, I also felt a nagging voice in the back of my mind, reminding me of the betrayal and the lingering doubts. Trust takes time to rebuild, and while I was willing to work on our issues, I knew that I couldn't forget what had happened. One evening, after a particularly intense therapy session, I sat on the couch, deep in thought. Sarah came in, her face reflecting a mix of concern and hope. "Are you okay?" she asked, sitting down beside me. "I'm just processing everything," I replied, trying to gather my thoughts. "There's still so much we need to work through. I want to believe we can get through this, but I also need to be honest about my feelings." "Please be honest," she urged. "I want to know what you're thinking." "I'm just scared." I paused, taking a deep breath. I'm scared that I'll never fully trust you again, that this will always hang over our heads like a dark cloud. I need you to understand that it's going to take a lot more than apologies to make this work. She nodded, her expression serious. I get that. I'm willing to do whatever it takes, Jake. I know I messed up and I'm ready to put in the work. I just hope you can find a way to forgive me. In that moment, I realized that while I was still harboring deep pain from her betrayal, I was also beginning to see glimpses of the woman I fell in love with in her determination to change. It was a long road ahead, filled with uncertainty, but maybe we could find our way back to each other, one step at a time. We could face this together, even if it meant confronting the ghosts of the past while working toward a future that seemed so precarious. The journey wouldn't be easy, but together, we could start to rebuild what was lost. The weeks turned into months, and for the first time since the revelation of Sarah's infidelity, there were glimmers of hope. Therapy sessions became a routine, and we made strides in communication. Sarah was earnest in her desire to make amends, but there were moments when the shadow of doubt loomed larger than I wanted it to. I often found myself asking if I could really trust her again, if the love we had was strong enough to weather the storm. One evening, after a particularly insightful therapy session, we sat in the living room, both exhausted but feeling somewhat lighter. The therapist had facilitated a breakthrough conversation about vulnerability, and I felt a sense of connection that had been missing for so long. Jake, Sarah began hesitantly, breaking the silence. I've been doing a lot of thinking. I never realized how important it was to keep the lines of communication open. I promise I will always be honest with you from now on. I don't want to lose you again. I looked at her, taking in the sincerity in her eyes. It was refreshing, and yet part of me still questioned whether those words would hold weight in the long run. I appreciate that, Sarah. I really do. But I need to see it in action, not just hear it. I understand. I want to show you that I mean it, she replied, her voice steady. I know trust is earned, and I'm willing to work hard for it. Maybe we can make a weekly check-in part of our routine just to talk about how we're feeling. I want us to stay connected. That sounds like a good idea, I agreed, feeling a warmth spread through me. It'll take time, but I'm willing to put in the effort. I want to see if we can make this work. As we moved forward, I began to notice small changes in Sarah's behavior. She was more thoughtful, more attentive. She made an effort to show me she cared, whether it was cooking dinner or planning little surprises for me. I wanted to believe that she was changing for the better, and with each passing day, I felt the walls I had built around my heart begin to weaken. But just as I was starting to feel optimistic, something unexpected happened. One night while I was working late at the office, I received a text from Sarah that sent chills down my spine. I need to talk to you. It's important. Please come home as soon as you can. My heart raced as I hurriedly finished my tasks and drove home. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. What could be so urgent? When I walked through the door, Sarah was pacing the living room, her brow furrowed with concern. Jake, thank you for coming home so quickly, she said, her voice trembling. I didn't want to text you while you were at work, but I had to tell you. Tell me what? I asked, anxiety creeping into my voice. I saw Mark today, she blurted out, her eyes wide. We ran into each other at a coffee shop. He wanted to talk, and I thought it was a good opportunity to clear the air. The mention of Mark felt like a slap in the face. I couldn't believe she was still thinking about him. Why would you do that? After everything that's happened, why would you even consider meeting him? I wanted to show him that I'm moving on, that I'm committed to you, she explained, her voice rising in pitch. But it turned into a bigger conversation. He wants closure, and I thought it might help both of us move on. I felt a wave of anger wash over me. Closure? This isn't about closure, Sarah. You're still allowing him to have space in your life. How am I supposed to trust you when you're having these conversations? I didn't plan it, it just happened, she insisted, her voice full of frustration. I thought I could handle it. I swear I'm committed to you, Jake. I took a step back, trying to process this new information. You should have told me. You should have mentioned it before meeting him. You know how sensitive this is for me. How can I trust you when you hide things like this from me? I thought I could do it without involving you, without making it a big deal. I didn't want to hurt you. She was pleading, and I could hear the desperation in her voice. "But you did hurt me," I shouted, the anger boiling over. "This is exactly what I'm afraid of. It feels like you're still connected to him in some way, and it makes me question everything we've built over the last few months." Sarah fell silent, the weight of my words crashing down on her. I could see the guilt wash over her face, but it was too late. Despite her intentions, the damage was done. I felt like I was trapped in a cycle of pain and betrayal, and I wasn't sure how to escape it. "I can't keep doing this," I said finally, my voice shaky. "I need time away from you again. I need to think about what this means for us. Jake, please don't do this," she begged, tears streaming down her face. "I didn't mean for it to happen this way. I want to make this work." "I know you do, but right now it doesn't feel like we're on the same page. I need to reflect on what I want from this relationship, and I can't do that with you here when you're still reaching out to him." I walked away, the heaviness in my chest growing as I left her standing there, crying. I felt guilty for hurting her, but I also felt a sense of relief. I was finally standing up for myself, taking control of my emotions and my future. As I drove away, I took a deep breath. I needed to think, to sort through my feelings and decide what I wanted moving forward. The road ahead felt uncertain, but maybe this was the moment I needed to reevaluate everything. I had to decide if Sarah was worth the pain or if it was time to let go and move on. Either way, I knew I was ready to face whatever came next and reclaim the direction of my life, even if it meant making some tough choices along the way. I drove aimlessly for hours, the landscape becoming a blur of headlights and streetlights. The weight of everything that had transpired pressed heavily on my chest. I was angry, hurt, and confused. How could Sarah think that meeting Mark was a good idea? Each time I tried to believe we were moving past her infidelity, something pushed me back into that painful reality. I finally pulled over at a quiet park, one I used to visit for solace before the storm hit my life. I stepped out of the car, inhaling the crisp night air as I strolled through the empty paths. I needed clarity, and I hoped that being amongst nature would help me find it. Sitting on a bench, I reflected on everything: the love I once had for Sarah, the pain of her betrayal, and the struggle of trying to rebuild something that felt irrevocably broken. I thought about our moments together, the laughter we shared, and the plans we made. But those memories were now clouded by betrayal, and I couldn't ignore that reality any longer. As I sat there, I realized that this journey was more than just about Sarah's affair. It was about my own growth and understanding of what I wanted in a relationship. I had to ask myself if I could ever truly trust her again. The answer felt like a painful knot in my stomach. Right now, I wasn't sure if I wanted to be with someone who could so easily dismiss my feelings. After a long time contemplating, I made a decision. I knew I deserved someone who would value my trust, who wouldn't put me in a position to question their loyalty. It became clear to me I couldn't go back to the way things were. As much as I had wanted to believe we could repair our relationship, the damage felt too deep. With renewed resolve, I returned home, my heart pounding with anticipation and fear. I found Sarah still sitting in the living room, her eyes red and swollen from crying. The sight twisted my heart, but I had to stand firm in my decision. "Sarah," I said, my voice steady, "we need to talk." She looked up, a mixture of hope and fear in her gaze. "Jake, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you. I thought meeting him would help me find closure. I never meant for it to come between us." "I know you didn't," I acknowledged, "but I had to be honest. But it has. I can't shake this feeling that you're still emotionally attached to him. You keep allowing him to influence our lives, and it's not fair to me. I swear I'm committed to you. I just thought I could handle it all," she pleaded, desperation creeping into her voice. "I need to be clear," I said, my heart racing. "I can't keep trying to rebuild something when I feel like I'm on shaky ground. Our relationship has been damaged too much, and I don't know if I can ever trust you again." Her face fell and the tears began to flow again. "Please don't do this. I can change. I promise I'll cut him out of my life entirely. Just give me another chance." "Sarah," I said, my voice cracking slightly, "I've been down this road before. I need to prioritize my own well-being. I can't be with someone who makes me question my worth or my trust." As the gravity of my words settled in, I could see the realization hit her. This wasn't just a passing moment of anger, it was a decision rooted in self-respect. I had spent too long feeling like a secondary character in my own life, and now I needed to reclaim my narrative. I think it's best if we separate, I continued, my heart heavy but resolute. I need time away from you to figure out what I want and what I deserve. The devastation in her eyes was palpable, and I felt a part of me ache for her. But I also felt a sense of liberation. I had taken control, and while the future was uncertain, I knew it was the right choice for me. "I'm sorry, Jake," she whispered, her voice breaking. "I never wanted to hurt you, and I thought we could fix this together." "I thought so too, but sometimes love isn't enough," I replied gently. "I wish you well, but I need space to heal." As I left the room, I felt a wave of pain wash over me, but it was quickly followed by relief. I had made the hard choice, one that felt necessary for my own growth. I stepped outside into the cool night air, breathing deeply as I prepared to face the unknown. The road ahead wasn't going to be easy, and healing would take time. But I also felt a sense of hope. I could build a new life for myself, one where my happiness wasn't dependent on someone else's choices. I had learned valuable lessons about love, trust, and the importance of valuing myself. As I moved forward, I promised myself that I would never again compromise my worth or ignore the signs. I would embrace this new chapter, whatever it might bring. And in the end, I knew I would come out stronger, wiser, and ready for a love that truly honored and respected me.